Namaste. We're going to be working on the journey to Urdhva Dhanasana, which is wheel pose. Now, the first time I tried wheel, not even close. I actually avoided training it for years because I just assumed I couldn't do it. But I will happily and shamelessly show you my first attempt as opposed to 30 days later with just a little bit of practice on the mat. So what we're going to be working on is a sequence together to help open and prepare the body for the pose itself. And then we'll go ahead and give a couple variations of our wheel pose a try. Now, things I want you to be mindful of are perhaps wrist injury or shoulder injury, any pain or pinching that you might experience in your back. This is a challenging pose, but it's definitely worth exploring. Not only do we have to be flexible, but we also have to be strong. So I encourage you to enjoy the process, especially if it's a challenge and it takes you a while to get there. It's worth it in the end. So the things I want you to have are a set of yoga blocks, and we will be using the wall at some point for a little progression in our pose. So get yourself situated. Let's see how we do with our wheel. Let's begin with some cat-cow, hands right underneath those shoulders, knees underneath hips. Inhale to lift the tailbone and drop the belly. Exhale to curl and round. In any other movements, you can wag your tail from side to side or bring it into that circular churn of the ribs, if that feels good. Let the head totally relax. Reverse the direction. And meeting me back at center. We're going to do this one hand at a time. I'm going to lift the hand and reverse the direction. Fingers pointing towards the knee. Now, if this feels okay, actively roll that shoulder away. Don't let it hike up into your ear. Gently begin to send your body weight back. And if this is painful or a bit much, that might be an indication that wheel might not quite be in our wheelhouse yet. We need to work on flexibility of the wrist and strength. Actively press those fingers into the floor. I'm almost kind of palming that basketball, or sometimes called a gecko paw. We're kind of trying to suction the fingertips to the floor. Exiting by slowly peeling that wrist off the ground to replace. Second side, coming into the pose and rocking back just a little bit, or a gentle sway if you feel like you can tolerate that. Now, if there's a burning or aching sensation here, that is an indication that sometimes the carpal bones are off, and this is something that I chronically need to go and get adjusted on me. So if there's an aching sensation, that's an indication of some alignment issues going on. So just pay attention to that. Peel that wrist off the ground and back into our table position. Extend the right leg back. Let's see if I'm going to kick the wall and tuck under. Right foot steps through. Come onto blocks for a low lunge. Just take a couple rounds here back and forth to warm up. Sinking that left hip and then pulling back into your half split. As you rock forward, focus on sinking that left side, square the hips off to center. Actively push your left shin into the floor and try to lift your heart. You want to try to open up through this front line here, through the quad and hip flexor, which is essential for getting the extension of our hips and our pose. Try looking to the right. Keep that heart nice and lifted. And hinge back, come into your half split. And back through center. Hands can come to the inside, on or off blocks. I want you to tuck your back toe and try to really extend through the back of that kneecap. So engage that left thigh. Maybe a little rock here to stretch and open up through the foot. And then I want you to try a pulse. Push back through the heel and pulse. That knee grazes the ground and extends up for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and drop that knee. Try to sink the hip and drag the heart forward. You can hold here. If you think you have the bind, right arm reaches up and back and looks for that left foot. Now if you cramp up, which is very common here in the quad, or I'm sorry, the hamstring, you can come up and usually you can catch that cramp before it happens. Releasing nice and slow on that one. And begin to hinge back. Right leg is going to come underneath. Maybe a couple rounds of that cat-cow just between rounds. And left leg reaches back, avoid the wall, tuck under, and climb into that low lunge. Hands to blocks preferably. Knee should be right over that ankle, not beyond. Couple rounds of back and forth. All right, as you rock forward, lift the heart, walk those blocks nice and close, square the hips off. Actively press that right foot and shin into the floor. Peek to the left. And slowly hinge back. Take it into that half split, pull the toes towards your face. Rocking through center. And hands to the inside, on or off block. Tuck the back toe and extend. Right, I'm gonna open up through the back of that kneecap. Little rocks on those big toe ball mounds. And pulsing down. Push back through the heel, bend, and extend. For 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one to hold. And drop. Drag your heart forward, sink the hip to the floor. Option 1, option 2. Left reaches back for right. I know it's back there somewhere. And follow the rotation to the left. Release with control. Hinging back, send that left leg back behind you. Go ahead and tuck your toes and rise up. Take a downward dog. Sinking those heels, bending and straightening the legs. Try to pitch that tailbone nice and high. Letting the tension go in the neck here. Lift the heels and drop all the way down. Take it into your table position. We're gonna get ready for Anahata Asana, which is a variation of a heart opening. So I'm going to take my blocks right in front of me. Arms are going to extend on top, palms are facing inward or towards the ceiling. Knees and hips, or hips should be stacked right over knees. Melt the heart, just drop the gaze down, lengthen the back of your neck. Actively push into your blocks with your forearms and try to drag your hips away from you. Just trying to get a little more opening into the side body. On the exhale, draw the navel up, but also push the armpits downwards. Nice and slow, hands to the floor. Climb up into that table position. We're gonna go in one more time. Take it a little bit deeper. I'm gonna start with the left hand out in front. Left palm is going to face the ceiling, arms extended. We have a push-up position to the right. Come down, look through that negative space under the right arm. You can hold here with the arm extended or bend the elbow. This is going to get you a little bit deeper into the region around the trap and the tricep. Palm is going to rest on your back. Left arm extends, sliding and replacing. Take it to your second side. Look to the left. Actively press into the floor with that right side. Maybe bend the elbow. Imagine sinking that right armpit towards the floor. Release the arm, slowly hinge back and just swing your legs around. Come to a comfortable seat. Sit up nice and tall. Just take a counter stretch here. I'm going to draw across, actively shrug the shoulder to the floor. And switch sides. Shrug down actively. All right, and release your bind. I want you to grab your blocks. We're going to take this into a little bit of a heart chest opening. So what I want you to do is take one block and place it right behind your shoulder blades on the medium height. And then you'll take the other block behind your head. So finding your shoulders first. Let's see how I did. Did pretty good. I like to put the block on my head first. So if I put the block right at the nape of my neck here, then I can just slowly lower down into my pose. So you should feel completely supported. Once you come into this position, I want you to just try to almost get that sensation of trying to flatten your back to the ground, drawing the navel in, so that we don't hyperextend the lumbar, but we really focus on trying to open this thoracic region of the back. Arms are going to come up and overhead. I want you to grab one elbow or one forearm and just extend your arms up and overhead. So our goal here is to let the weight of our arms begin to open the chest. As you set up, just close your eyes. We got right into movement for our practice, so I just want you to take this time to center yourself, call your mind back if it's drifting or thinking. Releasing the arms, and we'll just switch which wrist we're holding, up and overhead. Let the weight of the arms just take you into your expression. Allow those shoulder blades to sink into your block. Try to expand the lungs a bit more at the top of the inhale. Go ahead and relax those arms just for a moment. Let them rest by your sides. Feel your shoulder blades melting a bit more. Arms are going to come overhead. Bend the elbows. Just grab the opposite elbow. One last time. Try to bring the arms up and overhead. So trying to get the arms all the way up by the ears. Try to extend those elbows away from you. This is also something really nice you can do at night, maybe just a couple minutes before bed. And releasing the arms. To come out of your expression, rather than just lifting our head, which many of us do, hands are going to come behind the head. We want to protect the cervical spine. So cradle the head with your hands and then just shift to one side to find your way up. We're going to work our way into a restorative bridge expression. So with one block, probably for most of us, the medium height. Roll onto your back, rise into bridge, and slide that block right on the sacrum. This should be comfortable and you should feel totally supported in your pose. And I want you to focus on really emphasizing the opening in our upper chest and thoracic region. So rather than taking this into more of a passive pose, which is typically how I might use this, I want you to focus on actively pushing your arms and your shoulders into the floor, and you're going to try to lift your sternum towards the ceiling. So feel your shoulder blades squeeze together and really try to lift your heart. So we're emphasizing the opening in our thoracic. I feel a lot of muscular action through my back body. Gaze is right at the ceiling for this. Shoulders come out from underneath you, come back into that restorative position. You may be able to keep your block on the medium height here. If this is a bit much, you could transition down to the lower height. I'm going to extend one leg long. See how that feels? We're working on opening up that front chain again. So you can hold here. If that feels okay in your back, you could extend the other one. I'll give you opportunity for both legs to be extended if you have it bent. But now I want you to emphasize your thoracic opening. Shoulder blades press into the floor, shoulder blades squeeze together and open through the chest. So I'm really focusing on popping the chest to the ceiling, engage the muscles through the back body. And I'm taking any compression out of the lumbar by trying to lift and open through the thoracic. If you have one leg straight and one leg bent, change. Walk the feet in one at a time. Allow those shoulders to come out from underneath you. Back into your restorative pose. Lift those hips and slowly articulate that spine, roll down, think of a string of pearls. And draw the knees into the chest, just take a squeeze, rock it out. All right, let's begin talking about our pose, and then we'll go through a couple different options, mechanics, and then you could decide how you want to give it a try. For our bridge pose, our setup first with the feet should be parallel, but I will say for myself, and I think most bodies, turning the toes out slightly would help with any compression in the back. The knees are directly under the ankles, so I've got to pull in really close, closer than I probably would imagine I need to get into my position. So my feet are actually really close to my body. The hands. We want to bend the elbows and point them straight towards the ceiling. Hands are going to be right underneath, or I should say in front of the shoulders. We have that nice gecko grip, so I'm going to think of using the fingers into the floor. If I tried to lift straight up into my pose, I don't think I'd get there. I need to make a little pit stop. So as I press into the floor, coming into a little bridge lift first, my weight is more in my shoulders. As I come up, I make a pit stop on my head, but the weight is in my hands. I come up onto the head, I adjust my hands, then it is a lifting of my heart to the ceiling. Head totally relaxes. Chin tucks. Roll down slowly. Slow unravel. You need to make sure you tuck your chin, right? Or tuck your head in so that we can protect our cervical spine. So that's really important. Now I want to talk about some different options. For me to really get that extension through my arms, because of pre-existing injury in the wrist, I can use a set of blocks. Now this is my favorite way to practice the pose. I'm going to put my blocks. Now I've seen tutorials where blocks come to the wall like this. This actually causes more pain and compression in the wrist. Blocks to a diagonal, right? This is going to give us something to push off of. Now these blocks have a little bit of foaminess to them. They're a little softer than I'd like them to be. But for demonstrations for today, they're okay. But if you're doing this frequently, I'd want you to have a nice firm block. Maybe something like cork would be a good option. So we have our blocks to a diagonal. Notice the angle of my hands here is very different than it was for the first round. Coming up onto the shoulders first. A little bridge lift, pressing into those blocks. My heart reaches straight to the ceiling as I push in, up. My goal is to get the chest to the wall. Chin tucks. Roll down. The one thing I notice is on my way down, it feels like a much longer distance from when I have my hands on the floor, as opposed to hands on the blocks. If the blocks at the wall variation do not feel good to you, you may also try lifting your heels, and that's going to give you that same amount of space. I'm just creating more space in my pose. So if I were to come into my wheel, setting up first, lifting up onto the bridge and then to the head, adjusting and lifting. If you wanted to try to lift your heels here, you could lift your heels. I'm still trying to press my chest forward. Now, if you were anything like me, you couldn't even lift off the ground. If that's the case, all I want you to do is focus on setting up the position, either on your blocks or on the ground, and I want you to focus on coming into the smallest of lift, coming up onto those shoulders, press into the floor, and just do muscular activation. Chin tucks, come all the way down. I had to do that for about a month before I was able to physically lift into my pose. So we might need to just continually visit that muscular engagement before we're ready to lift. Now, if you're struggling with getting your hands to the floor, you can work a little progression here. You'll need a bolster for this. I'm going to place my blocks down and my bolster right on top. So I have a little platform. Sitting on my bolster, I'm going to guide myself down. And I need to let my head relax here, so I don't want any strain in the neck. I could put my hands on the floor and just focus on my muscular engagement. I can actively push into the floor without lifting up at all, and then relax. I push and relax. And what this is going to do is it's just going to begin to build the muscles and the strength that we need to eventually lift into our pose. Coming out of this one, hand supports the head, and you'll just roll to one side. Now that you've seen your options, I want you to pick which one resonated with you. Let's try it maybe once or twice. Pause the video if you want to, and explore your bridge pose. I'm going to take it my favorite way. Ensure that once you're in your pose, you don't hold your breath. We are trying to lift straight to the ceiling, but also extend forward. So I'm trying to push my weight towards the hands versus the feet. Remember that exit, our head tucks as you slowly find your way down. As you land, pull your knees into your chest, take a little rock. Hands behind those knees, roll your way up. And I want you to take this into a hold. So if you wanted to come into a slight wide angle here, if that was comfortable to you, Alternatively, you may like a little diamond shape here. So I'm going to take this into a very wide diamond. Try to get up and out of the pelvis and just give an opportunity to round forward. Let all the work go. Relax the head, expand through the back body as you breathe in. Roll up nice and slow and just sit comfortably across the legs. Sit nice and tall. And just take one wrist. I'm just going to make a little fist here and I'm going to pull down. And little rotations. Just try to find a nice stretch across the top of the wrist and the knuckle. Second side, pull down. Hands reach to the ceiling, lift the heart. Exhale, bring it into heart center. That was our sequence to wheel. Doing a practice like this maybe 2 or 3 times a week would probably show you progression rather quickly. We do poses that challenge us to deepen our practice and to also learn about the things in our bodies where we're weak. So I love being here with you. If you're new, browse the channel, maybe consider subscribing, and hopefully I will work with you soon. Namaste.